Welcome, retail traders. Today we're going to talk about RCAT. I had a pretty good week with it last week, and it was a pretty easy chart to read. And we had a big knife on it Friday. And this week's lesson, we're going to be talking about live on YouTube. We're going to be talking about pullbacks, how to catch these knives, what to look for in a reversal, and how to find the dip. So it's going to be knife catching lesson next week. We've gone through 3 different sessions now. We've done our moving averages, we've done our charts, we've done the VWAP, and now we're going to go into how to catch knives on a pullback, on a huge run. So anytime we have like a parabolic stock that really just starts to take off and run, it's going to eventually come back to support. I call this irrational exuberance and overextended. So a lot of times they'll pop up, people get stuck up here at the top thinking it's going to keep on running, and they usually have a pretty good knife. And this is the exact same thing that happened with RCAT and many other trades that I get out of early. People wonder, why are you getting out? Why are you getting out? Well, this is the major reason why I get out of trades early. Is because of knives. I just know they come. I know, a penny stock, they're very risky to begin with, but they're very fun to play. So you just got to kind of keep on them and keep them on watch. But this week's lesson is going to be, how do we catch these pullbacks? How do we learn to catch these knives, and what are we looking for? There's many things that go into a pullback like this, and that could be either from lack of volume, some kind of news pop up, is an offering, just something can always cause a good pullback. Profit taking. I mean, a room could be pumping a penny stock, and all of a sudden, it takes a huge drop. It's because the big fat cat's already got out of it, sold it at the high, left you stuck, sold it at the ask. So, or even at the bid, just to get out of the trade. Because these guys, when they go in these stocks, they're going in big, and every dollar is like 5-10 grand to them. So you just got to kind of watch these knives. So there's profit takers, news, and we're going to talk about one right now, and it's going to be RCAT. RCAT. If everybody followed my trade last Sunday or last weekend, I called this here trade right into close. I mean, I got into the trade way sooner than that. Scalped it as I hit my resistance level. It pulled back to support, hit the resistance again, pulled back to support. I got back in the trade, scalped it at the end of the day. Later on that afternoon, in the evening, I noticed the bull flag. This is a bull flag from a run that's coming up. Same thing right here. That's a bull flag, believe it or not. And it pulled right back to the pivot point of this flag. So I'm always looking for flags, and I'm looking for reversals. Here's a great example of, let's put this to the 1 minute even. Well, I can't do it to the 1 minute. It has to be the 5. So on that 5-minute chart, we'll go back to it here. Let's go back a little bit deeper than this. I'm going to erase this here in a second. This is what happened Friday. This is what happened Friday here. And I had a resistance. I swung this trade all the way from about 4 something all the way to 738. I had a target in mind. I drew this chart up last week. I said, if I got to 738, I'm getting out of this stock. We hit that 738. But I got out of it a little bit sooner. I got out of here at 6:01 and then jumped back in the trade and scalped it again. And I got back out. And then right after hours, they came in with an offering. Now this is what you got to do. When you're catching these knives and you're looking for a support, I'm going to go ahead and clean this whole chart up. But I want to kind of show you something here on the 20-day 1 hour. And then we'll just draw it up again. Well, what we had here is I knew this thing was very bullish. So I didn't take my eye off of it. The next day, RCAT ran, and I traded it. As that was going on, this stock pulled back. What it did is it created a sideways channel. Then at the end of that channel, this is called a Darvas box. At the end of that channel, it created an ascending triangle. With that ascending triangle, we had a nice little breakout that next day. And I took profit. I mean, this was a great run. I got out of the stock at 6:01, right about an hour into close, because I had to go do something and I wasn't going to be around to watch it. Got right back, thing dipped back down, and I jumped back in it. Scalped it. Some guys encouraged me, you know, kind of picked on me a little bit for getting out of the trade. But I get out of the trade because I want to take that profit. I don't care what anybody says. I just don't care. I take my profit. I buy the dip. I'm a smart enough trader to know when a stock breaks out, it's going to pull back. When a stock breaks out, it's going to pull back. Break out, pull back, break out, pull back, break out, pull back. Just common sense. Why not take that trade 2 or 3 times a day and make 3 times as much money as the person that's staying in the trade and riding it all the way up? Now I'm in it, out, in it, out, in, out. I'm looking at the patterns. It was forming a Darvas box. It was plain to see. Then once that ascending triangle's extended on out, I was ready for it. Now, catching knives. We're going to go ahead and clear this up. A lot of times when a knife happens, it'll pull back to a previous pattern. What it did, it pulled back to that Darvas box. Pulled back to that Darvas box here at 527. It pulled back where we couldn't have the resistance breakouts. Now this is another good sign of a real strong breakout. Now if you keep in mind, this is ascending triangle. Now I've always said, when you get up to the top and it pulls back, you get up to the top and it pulls back. Now if you've got higher lows, it's showing some self-respect. Now this is the thing here. This is a triple top breakout. 1, 2, 3. So anytime, that is probably one of the most powerful ascending triangles that you could see coming out of a Darvas box. So I've always talked about chart patterns. That's the key to success. So we're going to learn how to catch knives this week. I called this back. I said this thing can pull back to this 527. Bam! Pulled right back to that top of that horizontal line on that ascending triangle. That's a solid support. That's a triple top. So when you're catching a knife and it's running up, always try to go back to a pattern. Try to go back to a place of consolidation. This Darvas box resistance line was the perfect spot. Note, I have the 50-day on here. Now that knife pulled all the way back to the 50-day on the 1-hour chart. That's a strong buy to get back into the trade. Now this is still going to have some huge momentum, and I actually, funny to say, I actually talked about being in the now, knowing what's going to happen, about my personal life, about my 10-year goals, my 5-year goals. You know, if something don't work out in 10 years, I'm going to switch everything around and start fresh and recreate myself. And that's the same thing with the market. So you got to kind of think, what's going to happen in 10 years from now? I mean, I was a Star Trek guy, and we had all kinds of stuff going back then with Star Trek, you know, like computers, and it was bizarre watching this. And then all of a sudden we have computers and cell phones. So, you know, I look at the Jetsons. I see cars flying in the air going from one destination to the other. What kind of brought me into mind is helicopters. Now, Kobe Bryant, you know, he just used a helicopter to go from his house to the arena, or his house to the store, or his house wherever he wanted to go. His main transportation was a helicopter. Why not could it be a small little transported drone car? So that's why I'm interested in RCAT. I can imagine being in the jet set and flying these little cars. 10 years, 15 years from now in, you know, major cities. And they'll have like a whole new air zone where, you know, like level where they can, people can taxi in the air. So remember this week's lessons about catching knives. Now we're going to clear this chart up because it's kind of pretty dirty and I need to clear it up, start fresh again. We're starting with a new week. I'll go to the 20-day. Now, I like to look at this, and there's a couple little patterns in here. So we're going to draw these patterns out, and these patterns are going to give us our idea to get into the trade. Now, I already showed you the entry from the pullback. Now, this is an ascending triangle right here. This is what you call a pennant flag. This is what you call a pennant flag. It's a very bullish flag. It's called a pennant flag. So we're going to go ahead and draw the trend lines on the pennant flag. And we're just going to go ahead and go from the body of this candle to the body of that candle, and we're going to extend it on out to the right. I just go from that next level. And that's where the trend line begins. So we pulled back pretty much to that trend line, correct? Now, I'm going to draw the horizontal line to that triangle. I'm going to find the resistance. I'm going to use the body of this candle right here, which matches up to a lot of wicks on the way. That's resistance. Let me see if I got this right here. We're going to go ahead and shut this off, turn this on, put that to blue, change that to free, and there's your flag. That's a pennant flag. Then we had the breakout. And then we had the breakout. So that flag, that spike, that knife, pulled back to that horizontal line on that previous pattern. If you want to learn how to catch real good knives, look for areas of consolidation, look for areas of resistance, look for patterns, look for chart patterns. Now, I would have put a trend line right here. Would have been probably the first stop of the knife. That was a previous high. So that, what am I doing here? Shit. On the left. So there you are. That's the channel of support and resistance. Now we got to come on down a little bit farther and try to find a pivot point in this flag. I want to try to find a pivot point in this flag. So we go right here, and there's your pivot point. Why? I'll show you. Okay, we've got bodies, wicks, bodies, and bodies, and bodies. Solid pivot point area in that channel. So there's your three support levels: 576, 522, and 468, with a solid buy if it does dip down here and the hens leave the hen house. The rooster's going to bring them back in right about down here at 409, no lower. That way, if it fails that, then, you know, shit hit the fan. Strong buy down here at the 200 on the 20-day 1 hour. So these are my two technical resistance channel. This is my third support, and then down here is strong buy with the gap. And that's going to be RCAT. I think this thing can keep running. We've got a pretty strong pattern, and this is definitely bullish. So try to remember this week's lesson. Hit that like button, subscribe, ring that bell. I'll be live for a little while longer. And we're going to talk about how to catch pullbacks and knives when we have parabolic breakouts, or when we just have bad news. We need to be in the now, and we need to know the price action, and we need to know our chart patterns. And we're going to look for reversals before. We're going to catch these reversals before they happen, not after. We're going to, and then we're going to know where we're going to take the trade. So that's part of the lesson this week. I wish everybody a great week, and keep an eye on RCAT. Resistance to break on RCAT is going to be right here at 729. If we do start to bump up and pop up, but this is a very strong chart. Solid support at 522. If that doesn't hold, 527. You've got that lower support right down here at 409, no lower than that. And I'll put a red line right there. And that's going to be it. Subscribe. I'll see you Monday. I wish you all luck. Have a great day.